Good morning, and we are live. We've got a lot to talk about today. This is going to be a good show. I'm really excited. Let's dive right into it. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to start out talking about Portland. I want to talk about Portland. It's a developing story. There isn't a lot to really talk about Portland right now because things are just kind of fleshing out. But we do know, what has happened, and we know why it's happened, more importantly. Donald Trump, fresh off the heels of his insane speech at the UN, where his cognitive decline was on full display. The entire world saw it. I mean, it's been reported. If you watch the previous show, we showed some of the clips from the BBC and just all over the world. I mean, France, Germany, everybody just were shocked at how just gone Trump is. I mean, just absolutely gone. And the ridiculousness of everything that surrounded this with, the escalator. Now we find out videos come out of the videographer, Trump's own videographer, stopped the escalator. They have video of him going up the escalator right before Trump, and he's the one that triggers the button that stops the escalator on accident. They knew this. They knew this. When he walked up the stairs, they discussed it. They knew it was their own videographer that did this, and then went out to put out, you had bullshit Barbie, Carolyn Levitt, come out and say, we needed an investigation into who did this. And they knew who did it. They knew before they said any of that stupid shit. So not only did we have, Poopy Poppy, on full display in his cognitive pudding-brained state, just babbling on about terrazzo flooring and just all the insanity that speech was. Then they followed it up with just pure insanity for the whole world to see. Just pure insanity for the whole world to see. I mean, it was their own videographer that did this. It was their own people running the teleprompters. And again, the whole world, when the president of the United States declares that he's been sabotaged and that there needs to be an investigation, this makes international news. Then it's immediately followed up with, oh, look, there's video of the videographer reaching out, putting his hand out and accidentally tripping the button that stopped the escalator. They knew this because they followed him up the stairs and had a conversation. So, yeah, it's not only is Trump's mental decline on full display, but just the idiocy of the entire administration around him is on full display. Fast forward to Portland. Poopy Poppy puts this out. At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I just want to start out by saying you people are the frickin' best, man. You people are the best. The response to this has been just perfect. Sherry P., when they say they're rounding up Antifa, do they mean they're rounding up World War II vets? Great question, Sherry. Great question. Because there is no Antifa. There's no Antifa headquarters. There's no Antifa organization. There's no Antifa fundraising. There's no Antifa leader. It doesn't exist. It's an ideology. It means anti-fascism. But I just love this. Let me just pull this up for you. This is all over. This is going to be on Blue Sky. This is on Blue Sky, but one second. This has been the response, and I just absolutely love it. I just absolutely love it. I'm just going to scroll through. You can see the posts that are popping up. This has been the response. People are just sharing pictures of Portland, videos from Portland, just everything that's going on in Portland with the tag on it, war ravaged Portland. Like this one, just arbitrary person in Portland, war ravaged Portland 5 minutes ago, walking down the street shopping. This is what we have to do, folks. I mean, this is what we have to do. Posting the soccer game, posting video from the soccer game. You have to mock them. You have to mock them for this. The war ravaged farmers market, the war ravaged restaurants. This is what you have to do. This has to be the response. There are people that the burn it all down people. I get them all the time. Every time I post, look, don't be violent, people. Don't be violent. You're playing into their hands if you engage in any kind of violence whatsoever. I will get a post flooded with people that, oh, you just want to lay down and this, that, blah, blah, blah. No. That is not how you fight this. You don't fight this by burning things and rioting and raging. And just because you're all up in your feels on social media doesn't mean that is the right thing to do. It just isn't. It's just dumb. Mock them. Be peaceful. Show them the stupidity of this. Video everything. Forgive me, I had a little blip there. Don't kill me, I'm just government shutdown, military purge, Portland takeover. Should we be scared and should we start thinking about leaving America? I'm not. We got this. We've got this. Every one of these idiot things that they do, we win. We come out ahead because it is idiocy. And if we just be smart, react like that. Don't go out there and destroy things. Why would you destroy your own things? Don't go out there and destroy things and give them an excuse. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't play their game. Show what an idiot Kristi Noem is by saying that Portland is war ravaged. Show what a beautiful city it is. That's how you keep the hearts and minds of Americans. MAGA, most people in MAGA are not plugged into reality or the politics or what's going on. It's that old trope. tell the lowest white man he's better than the highest black man, and you won't have to pick his pockets. Hell, he'll turn his pockets out for you because of that feeling of superiority you're giving them. When you show just how stupid something like this is, those people that want to feel superior don't want any part of that. They just don't want any part of that. They don't want to look like fools, even though they are for supporting MAGA. New West Bill, I've had enough of great. I want to go back to free. I'm with you, brother. I am 100% with you. I am 100% with you. Alexa Gibson, thank you, Texas Paul, for giving us the facts. Hey, that's my job. That's what I do with your support is I sit here and do this full time. But yeah, there isn't really much to talk about Portland right now because, well, there wasn't much happening beforehand. You had a few protests at an ICE facility. It was just a small vigil of a few people. And there really isn't much to it. I mean, that's really all you can say is that there's just been a small vigil of people that are against the immigration bullshit that this administration is doing. And this administration that is just absolutely buried under the Epstein files and negative economy. Just grandpa, poopy poppy keeps going out and embarrassing himself. Everything is on just a massive downward slide for this administration. They're just going under. And then we have elections like Adelita Grijalva, which, by the way, we have a little news on that front. Adelita Grijalva just blows out the election in her district in a special election. I mean, no one's come up with numbers like this. It's, the Republicans have this thing of, oh, we're going to contest every election. So they didn't even bother with this one. I mean, they lost so badly that it was just laughable. What are you going to contest? It was hilarious. But, you've got Mike Little Johnson going out there saying, hey, he's not going to seat Adelita Grijalva. Not until they get the final certification. That's not the standard, folks. And kudos to Midas Touch Network for bringing this to us. They're really, I love those guys. They do amazing work. If you're not tied into Midas Touch on your social media and their website, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I really don't know what you're doing with your life. But we are the resistance. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you being here for supporting the show. But yeah, Adelita Grijalva gets elected. And what normally happens is the Secretary of State will write a letter saying, yeah, this person, they won. We'll have final certification for you in a few weeks. But yeah, this person clearly won. It's uncontested. This is the winner. And then they're seated in Congress. They don't wait to get final certification. They just don't. That's never been the standard. You can go just every special election that we've just had, they just seat the person. Even when the elections are much closer, as long as it's not contested, they seat the person. Mike Little Johnson is not going to do that because she is the vote that allows the discharge petition to go forward and brings the vote on the Epstein files to the floor. And Mike Little Johnson knows that he is going to lose that vote. That when it's before the American people, when the lights are shining, and they have to say, yes, release the Epstein materials, or no, release the Epstein materials, that the Republican caucus, which has been voting in lockstep to protect pedophiles, will cave. And we will find out more because we just had more information coming out. Peter Thiel is in the Epstein files. We've talked about the South African shit gibbons before, the PayPal mafia. Elon Musk has come out in the Epstein files. Steve Bannon has come out in the Epstein files. And that's just the few that we know. You have Democrats voting in lockstep, 100% to release the Epstein files, and you have Republicans voting in lockstep to not release the Epstein files. What does that tell you about who is in the Epstein files? Randy Oliver, we bail out Argentina. They cut our soybean prices and sell elsewhere. We're going to talk about that, man. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get in depth into that. Mike Daly, don't forget the purpose of martial arts. It's how not to fight. Let them be themselves, beat themselves. Yes, absolutely. We're winning every one of these. Every time Trump does something stupid like this, we win more hearts and minds, and our poll numbers go up. And every election reflects it. New West Bill, once he gets the war of Portland stopped, he can finally get that Nobel Prize he's been wanting. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The Nobel Committee said you're never getting a Nobel Prize. Just renaming your Defense Department the Department of War precludes you from getting a Nobel Prize. Stacy Thompson, tip, while I step away to brew my coffee. Yeah, you got to have a good cup of coffee. I hope y'all's coffee is as good as mine. Mine is just killer. One of y'all sent me some gingerbread coffee a while back. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the holidays. I'm getting my fall on, and just got my gingerbread coffee this morning. I hope y'all's is as good as mine. I really do. Oh, man, what a good day. Kathy Young, with an overabundance of soybeans here, learn to love tofu. It will be the cheapest protein. No, you know where I learned to love tofu? No kidding. Just, hey, this is y'all's show as much as mine. You want to make that comment? We'll talk about it. That hot and sour soup, that the Asian hot and sour soup that always has the big chunks of tofu in it and all the different kinds of mushrooms in it. Oh man, I love that stuff. Oh my God. I could go to a Chinese buffet and eat nothing but that soup. I love that stuff, man. Debbie Bauer, I've changed a few minds by pointing out that if you don't trust the news, just go to whatever city is a war zone and look at their live traffic feeds. That's a great idea. That is a great idea, Debbie. I'm glad to see new people I'm glad to see new donors coming out. I'm truly grateful. That always confirms for me that we're going to be okay as long as we keep bringing in larger and more audiences. By the way, I don't know, wasn't that long ago that we got that award from YouTube for busting 100,000. We're closing in on 300,000 now. I told you, the larger our audience gets, the faster this will grow. So hit that subscribe button and let's keep this thing rolling, because we need information. With this corporate media, we need people out here giving good information from a point of view that is not licking Trump's taint. Jordan, I believe little Mike Johnson is an Epstein client. He may be. And you know what else, guys? I got into a little bit of trouble on the internet yesterday. I did. I got into a little bit of trouble yesterday. Everybody's just stipulated that Bill Clinton is in the Epstein file. We've always said, you know what? So who cares? Release him. We'll throw that guy in a wood chipper. We don't care. You know what? I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to stipulate a single Democrat is in the Epstein files ever again until they release them. Until you release them, I will never accept. I will sit here and say every person in the Epstein files is a Republican MAGA piece of shit. I will never stipulate again that Bill Clinton is in the Epstein files until you release them. Megan, thank you, Texas Paul, for posting the truth and keeping me calm. Hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm just not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to play these games with them. You want to sit there and say, oh, well, Democrats are in the Epstein files. No, they're not. Release them. Prove it. Heidi Gordon in the house. Love you. Thank you, Texas Paul. If you haven't already, check out Ken Klippenstein's Substack. Trump NSPM 7 labels common beliefs as terrorism indicators. Even anti-MAGA views are on the list. Yeah, this is real. This is really real. We're going to have to do a whole show on this. This is something. What Heidi's talking about here is they are really trying to be able to just declare. They need conflict. They need something going into these midterms that just that they can dig their claws into and they can use to disrupt this election, because they're going to get hammered in the midterms and they know it. So they are desperately ferreting around trying to find different things. But I'm going to throw you something out there and I want you to pin this. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't. But I'm going to make a prediction. Grandpa Poopy Pants, Poopy Poppy is, look, I'm not going to be cruel about this. I'm not going to be cruel about it. Any of you, ask the people in the audience, please. Ask the people in the audience. Any of you folks that have dealt with an elder family member and have seen this decline before, the agitation, the aggression, the ability to remember things from long ago, but not what they ate for lunch yesterday. All of that is common. And that's why we're in Portland, folks. That really is why we're in Portland. Because Trump can remember Portland. He can remember being angry about Portland. He can remember what happened during his first term in Portland. But he can't remember what happened yesterday. He had to sit at the UN and read from his notebook, and the tone was obvious that he was reading what Stephen Miller wrote down. And, it's pathetic. He cannot talk about anything contemporary anymore. So we're at that stage of decline. Anybody that's dealt with this in the past knows it accelerates. We're headed for bad times. And Donald Trump may not be who we're running against in the midterms. By this time next year, we may be running against President Vance. Because again, we have medical professionals that are in this audience. Chime in at how fast you go from I can't remember anything current to virtually non-functioning. You have to be assisted with everything. You can't be left alone. Seriously, that is a discussion we need to be having. We may not be running against Trump come the midterms. Skeet Sayer, Portland is more evidence that the 2026 World Cup in the U.S. will be a failure. Oh, God. It is, yeah. That is going to be an economic disaster. The trouble is Bannon and Musk and the whole a lot of them have no shame. They will deny it even though it's plain for everyone to read. I'm telling you, J.D. Vance has no shame, and we're going to talk a little bit about J.D. Vance and some of the stuff that he does and what he's been involved in. Jeremy Breeden, thank you so much, brother. I don't know how that got by me. I'm trying to find your comment. Your Jeremy Breeden coming in with the support, man. Foundational membership of the show. I'm truly grateful, brother. I'm truly grateful. I can't find it to pull it up. I'm sorry. But yeah, I want you to put a pin in that. I'm telling you, we need to prepare as a party to have a last minute switch. The economy is tanking. Trump's popularity is tanking. People boiling from Trump for all the things that he's doing. Things like this Portland thing are not going to go well. They're just not going to go well. Trump is going to say more and more and more unhinged shit. I'm telling you, we may be running against J.D. Vance come the midterms. Texas Paul said it first. Captain PJ, breaking news, shooting and fire reported at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. This is getting out of control. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. Thank you for letting us know about that. Folks, if you're new to the audience, this is what we do here. I'll be talking about important things, but there are parallel conversations that are going on in chat that are, like I said, people that I can't sit not tied into breaking news while I do this show. I've got to keep my thoughts straight. We deep dive into things, so I can't sit and watch a breaking news feed. That goes on in the chat. That goes on in the chat. So if you're watching this on replay, by all means, open the chat panel up. You want to see what these people are saying. Texas Diva, my mom died 3 months ago from dementia, and I saw a rapid decline in her within 3 years. She was in home hospice, and it was a task since I was the only caregiver. I believe it. I believe it. I believe that was difficult. Everyone I've ever talked to in that situation have said the same thing, how hard it was. And just how quickly they go from forgetful to a full-on handful that has to be completely managed. Neuropilot, traffic feed, Portland, February 24th, 22, war ravaged. Oh, my God. This is so going to blow up in their face. It is so going to blow up in their face. Look, the main story I want to talk to you about today is this. It's Milei and Trump. Javier Milei and Trump. And to give you a full-on, we've got to jump in the Wayback Machine. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. Now, I know you're going to say, what the hell are you talking about Puerto Rico for? Just stick with me. Stick with me. You'll understand why here in just a minute. I'll make it quick. New West bill. Mom and dad both died from this awful disease. I think he is on the slide out, maybe a year. He no longer has the ability to know who he is. Sick. He is. He is literally dying right in front of our eyes. He just is. This is a great point that a lot of people are making. I've shared before us is they put Reagan out of public view pronto. Reagan was an actor, and he was used to pretending. He was a trained actor who had years of experience acting. Trump is not. And Reagan was, for all of the awful things, Dan Reagan, just all of the people that surrounded Reagan, they could actually put a pretend government up while basically just, I hate to say it, but weakening Bernie's carrying Reagan around. That's not going to work with Trump. These people that Trump have in place are not there for their skill in governing. They can't put a pretend government. Hell, they can't do it while Poopy Poppy's still around. They're not going to be able to pull this off. They are not the Reagan administration. They just aren't. They're not going to be able to pull this off. And we've got to be prepared. We've got to be prepared for them swapping out to J.D. Vance. Look, back in 1974, okay, we're going to go that far back in the Wayback Machine. Back in 1974, they passed a law in Section 936 of the tax code. And it was designed to spur economic activity in Puerto Rico. And boy, howdy, did it work. Did it work? And then stick with me. I know I'm talking about Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico has nothing to do with Argentina and where we're going directly. But there's an example. Puerto Rico, Jackson, Mississippi. There's trust me, this is going to tie in. Under construction. My mom went from still playing board games with me to a helpless child who thought I was her sister over a few months. Yeah, it happens that fast. That's why I say this time next year, very different picture with Trump. Put a pin in that. I'll eat those words if I have to, but I'm telling you, I'm not going to eat those words. Skeet Sayer, ever wonder why Argentina's soccer team has no black players while being South American? It is all real relative. Yeah. I have never wondered that in my life. I have never wondered that in my life. One second. Linda Orndorff in the house. It POs me that mainstream media doesn't talk about Trump's decline After that is all they wolfed about with Biden. Yeah. We face a totally different landscape. People say, well, why aren't the Democrats? It's like, do you not understand the way our corporate media works and where their loyalties lie? Yes, Fox News is just an open branch of the GOP, but hell, every other media outlet that's part of the corporate media establishment, they all favor Republicans. Back when the Republicans were screaming media bias, there was study after study after study that was saying, yeah, there's a media bias, but it's conservative, not liberal. Karen Symes, thank you for being here, Karen. I truly appreciate you supporting the show. That is big support. I'm truly grateful. Thank you. But yeah, back to what we're talking about with Puerto Rico. It's important. If you've never been to Puerto Rico, by the way, go. It is beautiful. Oh my God. It is a jewel. It is an American jewel. It is an American jewel. It is absolutely beautiful. The food is amazing. Go when they're having some sort of festival, some sort of carnival. It is beautiful. It really is. But man, it's had its ups and downs. Back in 1974, Puerto Rico was hurting, man. It was. In the 70s, it was hurting. So they passed a provision in Section 936 of the tax law that's to spur economic activity. And it was really simple. If you made money in Puerto Rico, you didn't pay taxes on it. You could take your profits and move them back to the mainland tax-free. Yeah. And then they passed a bunch of incentives to make Puerto Rican bonds even more attractive. So you can imagine what happened in Puerto Rico. They just went nuts building. They just went absolutely nuts building factories, especially the pharmaceutical industry went crazy in Puerto Rico. Factory after factory after factory. It was just the golden age all the way through the 90s for Puerto Rico. And things were just amazing, therefore. They were just amazing. But 1990s, what was the big thing that everybody screamed about? There had been, remember, Reagan and Don Reagan, he thought he needed to bust the unions, so they needed to outsource jobs rather than, have unions continue to grow and strengthen this country. That was really a thing. Reagan pushed for the outsourcing of jobs. His chief of staff, Don Reagan, believed that unions were communism and they all needed to be broken. And the way you break them is you move them jobs overseas and make your profits over there. That was really happening. Fact check me on that. I did a whole show on it. So during the 80s, everybody's like, well, we don't have to go overseas. We can just go to Puerto Rico, man. We can just go to Puerto Rico. And it was just from the 80s to the 90s, just a beautiful time of massive economic growth in Puerto Rico. What do you do when you're building factories? You build infrastructure, right? Police forces, hospitals, electricity, sewage, everything. You build infrastructure. You build out infrastructure. Judith McDonald, Argentina is where German Nazis hid after World War II. Yeah, that's pretty famously. Yeah, you've got blonde-haired, blue-eyed Argentines all over the place. Kathy Young, if a team beats the U.S., Trump will have them taken off the team in shackles. I don't put anything past the guy. I really don't. Megan, watch the movie Idiocracy. That's where we are. Yep. Agent Cajun John, good to see you here all the time, my friend. That's my Louisiana friend. He's just from right over yonder. I'm in Northeast Texas, so Louisiana is not that far from me. I skip over to Louisiana by Boudin all the time. How old do you have to be to get dementia? By the way, this is my first visit to this show. Thank you. You're killing me, brother. You're killing me. Of course, John is always here. Yeah. Skeet Sayer, Reagan killed the North American economy. Only people live alive then appreciate that it was the Fortune 1000. He did. He really did. The inflation was awful, outsourcing of jobs and everything was going crazy, which leads us to the 90s, where I'm going with the story. People are pissed. People are talking about corporate welfare. That was a big thing in the 90s, talking about corporate welfare. We are the resistance. Trump has a video on Truth Social hinting at arresting President Obama. Then they call a meeting. I think they're going to attempt to arrest Obama. I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think they're that stupid. I don't. I really don't think they're that stupid. He may do some stupid shit. He may attempt it. But again, these are the kind of things. Now that you bring that up, Vincent, thank you for always being here, brother. Always here with the support, man. I'm truly grateful. The James Comey thing. And they may pull something like that. But the reason they're doing the James Comey indictment, this is over the objections of Pam Bondi. This is over the objections of the political people in the White House. Trump insisted on this. Why? Because he can remember James Comey. He can remember he's pissed at James Comey. That's why we are a week away from hearing about Crooked Hillary like he's still in the campaign, man. I mean, he is just declining. For everything he's doing is because he's stuck in that period of time. Sloan Gregory, your talks are my security blankets through all of this. Thank you. And thank you. And thanks to your team. Hey, I'm glad. I'm glad you're here. I am truly glad you're here. I'm glad to do it. Ellen, thank you for the support. Okay, let's get back on it with Puerto Rico. Okay, everything's going swimmingly, right? In the late 90s, big push about corporate welfare. They repeal that tax provision. Not all at once. It's 2.5% per year following 1996. All of a sudden, there's no tax benefits to doing business in Puerto Rico. But there are tax benefits to doing them overseas still. So what happens to Puerto Rico? Just a gigantic sucking sound. Businesses after business, factory after factory, business after business just close. And it's just an economic disaster for Puerto Rico, because not only are the tax incentives gone to manufacture there, but also, one second, I lost a tab by accident. But you also, not only do you have this going on where the factories are closing down, you got the factories closing down in Puerto Rico. But then this happens. Forgive me, I was clicking through and I closed a couple of my tabs. Forgive the delay. What happens? We elected this moron in 2000. Well, I should say the Supreme Court selected this moron in 2000. And we all know what happened after that. The economic disaster that was the Trump administration. I mean, hell, they damn near collapsed the world economy in 8 years. And where this became twice as bad for Puerto Rico, because now you have to understand, from 1996 to 2000, businesses were already leaving Puerto Rico because they lost the tax incentives. Then all of a sudden, we're in a world recession, which is just a double whammy for Puerto Rico. But they still have the infrastructure. This is the same thing when we talked about Jackson, Mississippi, and the white flight out of there. Just because the jobs leave doesn't mean the infrastructure goes away. You're still saddled with all of the infrastructure costs. Richard, I'm waiting for Poopy Pants to indict Bernie Sanders. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy, folks. This next 6 months, watching Trump just melt down is going to be crazy. Phil, we have got to be smart about this. We have got to point and laugh is what you need to do. No violence whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. That just plays into their hands. I'm telling you, a lot of these people that wear hoods also wear badges. It's just a fact. Phyllis Rayleigh, when Reagan was elected, I leaned again the kitchen counter and kissed our economy goodbye. Yeah, I hear you. I lived through the 80s. I did. Anybody that's lived through the 80s will tell you what happened there. Scott Olson, thank you for being here. But look, so here's where we are. All of a sudden, Puerto Rico doesn't have the jobs anymore. They don't have the income coming in, but they've still got all the liabilities from the infrastructure they built, which we saw in the last major hurricane to hit Puerto Rico, had deteriorated over the decades and is in a shambles. Puerto Rico's in a mess right now. They're in a mess. Normally what would happen when you see situations like this, where they're scrambling to try to just patch their infrastructure together. And yes, this is still going on, folks. This is still going on. They've still got outside influences pressuring them, and this is what I'm trying to draw your attention to, how complex these issues can be. You've got natural gas interests trying to force Puerto Rico, who's we are funding a rebuilding of their electrical grids and their power generation capabilities. Under Biden, we wanted to do that with green energy. We wanted to do that with renewables. But no, you've got major business interests that want to saddle Puerto Rico with having to buy natural gas. They want everything done to be based on natural gas. That is really happening right now, today in Puerto Rico. But where it got bad, again, you got to jump back into the Wayback Machine. Babylon 01, Puerto Rico is being fleeced and the bondholders. Trump fired the oversight board. Puerto Rico had to sell schools and property to pay the debt. Trump fired the board last month. This is where we're going, folks. I love that. This is what I'm talking about. You people are so damn well informed with everything. You are so damn well informed in everything. Back in 1984. Things are rolling for Puerto Rico, right? So nobody really paid much attention when Strom Thurmond, the bigot of bigots, slipped a little provision in a tax bill. I wrote it down here. 1984 bankruptcy. No, I didn't write that one down. I didn't. But it was the 1984. It was a judicial reform bill. Back in 1984, that had nothing to do with it. He just stuck this little provision in this bill. Several major investors had tried to get this pushed through the House and couldn't do it. But Strom Thurmond just snuck it in a bill that was unrelated to. And what it was is it excluded Puerto Rico from the same ability that every other municipality and organization, governmental organization in the United States, except for states are barred from doing this, but cities and stuff can declare bankruptcy under Section 9. They can restructure their debt. Puerto Rico can't or couldn't up until 2016. They were stuck with these massive infrastructure costs and could not restructure their debt. And to complicate it, to make it even worse, the Vulture swooped in. We've talked about Paul Singer before in relation to the Manhattan Institute. Well, Paul Singer swoops in and buys massive amounts of distressed Puerto Rican debt. And what he's famous for is suing and suing and suing and suing. He goes in, he buys distressed debt really cheap and then sues the shit out of people, the debt, whatever entity he buys debt, original debt belongs to. He just sues them and sues them and sues them and sues them and sues them every which way and never settles, and just bleeds these entities until there's just really nothing else to bleed. And everybody are like, get off them, man. Just get off them. And then there's a threat of governmental action, and then he backs off. Silent Son, Paula is more Texans. If more Texans were like you, I'd move back in a heartbeat. There are millions of us here, brother. There are millions of us here. And I'm making sure that the loudmouths that gave Texas a bad name are not who you hear anymore. I've learned so much from you. Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for being here. So you're following me here? They pass a tax law, create a boom in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico does what Puerto Rico should do. They build infrastructure to support all the new factories that are coming in. Johnny Got Rocks is making tons of money. They take away the tax incentive, so Johnny Got Rocks leaves the factories empty. Puerto Rico is saddled with this massive infrastructure cost, rockets into debt. Strom Thurmond's put this little poison pill in there, making Puerto Rican debt even more attractive to investors because, hey, they can't declare bankruptcy. They can't restructure. So Puerto Rican bonds were even more attractive when things were rolling. In comes the Republicans in 2000. They wreck our economy. Double whammy for Puerto Rico. Massive debt. In swoops Paul Singer and the Vulture capitalists, buy up that distressed debt and make it as horrible as possible for Puerto Rico up until 2016. And in 2016, President Obama passed the Puerto Rico Oversight, Management, and Economic Stability Act. Whew, say that fast twice. Which is put a board in place to allow Puerto Rico to restructure its debt. In which, because Pablo No One just pointed out, Trump just fired that board. While Trump, after 2016, Obama comes in and tells Paul Singer, look, get off them, man. Get off of them. There are people there. There are people that have to live. This is the United States of America. We're not going to be a third world freaking country just for investors. Obama passes a law that allows Puerto Rico to get back on its feet. And it was, man, despite, right-wing politics is awful in Puerto Rico. Ask anybody that lives in Puerto Rico. Right-wing politics is awful in Puerto Rico. So here the Democrats come and they say, okay, we got to do the right thing by the people, and we're going to establish a board. They couldn't get it passed through the Republicans to make Puerto Rico like everyone else because, they don't want Puerto Rico to be a state. They don't want Puerto Rico recognized as anything near a state. So they can't pass actual bankruptcy reform that would allow them to be like every other municipality in the United States of America. Can't do that. So he just passes this legislation, which is, again, establishes a board to help them restructure their debt. Trump fires that board. And the reason I'm talking about that before we get into Argentina is the complexity of it. These are not easy problems to deal with. They are not. You have pressures from all different directions. Well-meaning stuff can create booms, and these booms can end up resulting in nightmares when the booms stop. It's complex, and you need grown-ups like Obama that will deal with these situations in a way that you can't go full communist, folks. That will destroy your capitalistic systems that we all live under. But you cannot be full capitalist either, because then you're just torturing people and you slide into a third world situation. Silent Sun says, Paul, if more Texans were like, oh, wait, I'm sorry. I already read that one. Thank you for being here, Silent Sun. I appreciate you. Crafty Ash, thank you for the support. Thank you. I'm truly grateful. I am truly grateful. Are you following me? Is it really clear what happened in Puerto Rico? It's not that complex. And you've got to remember, Paul Singer is getting favorable treatment by the Supreme Court, which you see him here on a luxury fishing trip with Samuel Alito. He's getting favorable rulings from the Supreme Court saying, oh, yeah, that 1984 provision that Strom Thurmond put in there, that's the law of the land. Screw Puerto Rico. And this is the same guy we've talked. The reason the name Paul Singer is probably familiar to you if you're a longtime member of the show, we talked about Paul Singer before and the shit that he is responsible for. Diamond Garage, thank you for being here. Hey, Paul, running errands, but listening on to you on delay, always here. Glad you're always here, brother. I'm glad to always have you, man. I am. Glad you're always here. But yeah. And then you've got Leonard Leo here that arranged that fishing trip. Leonard Leo is responsible for a third of the Supreme Court. See Leonard Leo, the little billionaire midget in the middle there is, I'm sorry for saying midget. I know that's not an exception. I grew up in a time where we said midget. I'm sorry. I do apologize. Not supposed to say that anymore. But you've got Leonard Leo there that you've seen with the Federalist Society responsible for Gorsuch. He's responsible for a third of the Supreme Court being in place. He's the one that arranged this trip with Alito. So, and then on top of that, not only are they involved with the vulture capitalism and all of that complexity, Paul Singer's also the one that is keeping the stupid fights in the very forefront. Okay? I know this is getting a little convoluted. Stick with me. It will make sense. It will make sense. I promise you. But he's also the one that's responsible for feeding the bigots, keeping the fights about anything but this. I mean, the fight over Puerto Rico's debt was really clear, and he lost. It was really clear. How do you keep from losing those kind of fights? You get people fighting over stupid shit like DEI. You tell a bunch of bigots that don't know what DEI is, a bunch of misinformation from a guy by the name of Christopher Rufo, the guy pictured down at the bottom, Christopher Rufo, we've talked about him before. He is the foundation for all of this, what they call backlash politics. And it keeps those fights and things like they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats and the immigration shit in the forefront. Things like Portland. See how we're tying it all together? Things like Portland. They keep that in the news instead of you paying attention to what the fuck Paul Singer is doing. And how he is making a fortune sucking the lifeblood out of Americans. That is what I wanted you to understand before we talk about Argentina. Do you get it? The billionaire behind buying up Puerto Rican debt, how complicated this can be when these interests are involved. Now let's take a look at Argentina. Argentina was a mess going into the 90s. In the 90s, they had some pretty smart leadership that pinned their currency to the US dollar, which stopped the insane inflation. And they made a bunch of guarantees similar to what you saw in Puerto Rico. And they had growth, massive growth, massive growth. And it worked for a while. You had all kinds of industries investing in Argentina, from the automotive industry to the pharmaceutical industry to the agricultural industries. Things were really turning around. But that pinning of the currency to the US dollar, which really stabilized Argentina, became kind of a nightmare for Argentina. Because they started to lose the faith of investors. Because investors could see the big, I'm talking like the BlackRocks and the major, they could see, look, man, the Argentine peso's value should be nowhere near the dollar. So these investments are not as attractive as they might first appear. And you've got to stop that. You have got to detach your currency from the dollar. And when they did, all hell broke loose. All hell broke loose. Chris R., thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And it just became a disaster. And then Argentina got punched with the same world. Remember how bad it got by 2007. The same global economy that George Bush kicked in the nuts, and the Republicans and their, remember, austerity, all of their economic ideas just exacerbated the lack of regulation that gave us all the derivatives and just absolutely damn near destroyed our mortgage markets. All of that was on a global scale. And Argentina, who was already reeling, got punched in the nuts by this economy, just like Puerto Rico did at the exact same time. And boom, hyperinflation again. The same situation, divestiture with the infrastructure costs still being there, the same song and dance, all the way down to racking up massive amounts of debt. Fonda, I will be at No King's Day, October 18th in Illinois. Glad to see it. Glad to see it. Glad to see it. We're going to talk about No King's Day more and more. We are, as it gets a little closer. We are. Are you following me? The parallels between Puerto Rico and Argentina? It's the same situation. So they're racking up massive amounts of debt. They can't get bailout. The IMF is trying to help them out, but they're going to end up declaring bankruptcy. Their debt becomes distressed. And when distressed debt is out there to be had, what do you think happens? Who do you think showed up in Argentina, just like he did in Puerto Rico? Yup. Same guy. Same fucking guy. Bought a boatload of Argentine debt when it was distressed for pennies on the dollar, and then sued Argentina here in the United States and anywhere in the world that they could find. Hell, they seized a Argentine Navy vessel. This guy seized an Argentine Navy vessel in Ghana. Everybody else was restructuring their debt. But Paul Singer and a couple of the Vulture capitalist holdouts sued Argentina and sued Argentina and sued Argentina anywhere and everywhere they could. And he made a fortune when enough governments got together and bailed out Argentina that they could get enough capital together that they paid off Paul Singer. These are the kind of complicated situations we're talking about. Then on top of it, Argentina, because its people are living through hyperinflation. And just like here, they were highly unplugged from all of these machinations. They didn't have a Texas Paul to explain all this. And even if they did, to be quite honest with you, they're not you. We've talked about this before. Most people are not you. If you are watching this show, you are head and shoulder. I'm not bragging about me here. I'm bragging about you here. If you are watching this show, you are head and shoulders above the vast majority of the people out there. You are sitting here listening to the machinations that go on behind the scenes, behind the curtain. They don't want to know that. They want to watch, reality TV, and they've got their jobs. They want to go to their kids' baseball games. And then they want to just talk shit about Democrats because that's what all their friends do, sitting around drinking their beer. Yuck, yuck, yuck. They're not you. And they aren't you in Argentina either. There's just an entire class of people that knew things sucked. And in comes Javier Milei, backed by people that are just like these people are just like Paul Singer. They're the people that go out there and they foment bullshit arguments and fights. Just like you see here in the United States, all Republicans want to do is talk about transgender people. One of the smallest groups of people in our country that don't affect anything. They just want to live their lives. Javier Milei had that kind of backing. And yet, before he was elected, back in 23, you had people like me that were doing shows saying, do not elect this guy. Do not elect this guy. He's a clown. He is a clown. And he is simply parroting the same austerity politics that these billionaire vulture capitalists all love. That's all he's doing. He's making the same trickle-down claims that we saw here in the United States. And we're sitting here explaining to these people, and yes, to Kurt, more than you know. You've got people in Trump's orbit that are part of this billionaire Broligarchs class, the same people that have taken over our government here. They're down in Brazil with Bolsonaro. They're in Argentina with Javier Milei. And yet people like me screaming ahead of time, don't do this. It's going to be a nightmare. And guess what? It's been a nightmare. And it is collapsing. That austerity bullshit is the worst thing you can do. It seems counterintuitive. Oh, wait a minute. We've got these massive infrastructure costs, ballooning debt. The government needs to spend more to get us out of this. That sounds bass-ackwards, but it is the only thing that works. You have sensible cutbacks that don't devastate your employment base. You have sensible, slow, measured cutbacks on top of government spending. It is the only thing that works in this situation. It has been proven over and over and over again, and Milei was just the opposite of this. All of the rules were put in place to protect the investors, the bondholders, the outside money that flooded into Argentina to pay for this massive albatross of an infrastructure that Argentina has, to protect guys like Paul Singer. And then they engaged in massive cuts. Massive cuts. And it's just been a nightmare. It's been an economic nightmare. In steps Donald Trump, because, Milei did the one thing that the only thing you need to do to get Donald Trump to have your back is to lick his taint and tell the entire world how blessed they are to have Donald Trump around and how great Donald Trump is. That's what Milei did. And it paid off. It worked. Even though he's driven his country into complete and utter disaster financially, here we are. They took $20 billion and they said, okay, we're going to pick an arbitrary point in the past where your peso was valued at X amount, and we're going to swap. We're going to give you American dollars for those pesos. Now, why is that a bailout? Because those pesos are just plummeting in value. So if Argentina has to pay its debts in those pesos, it costs them more and more and more and more and more. Paco Sullivan, wow. So we just gave Paul Singer 20 billion US taxpayer dollars. Essentially, yeah, this is where we're headed here. This is essentially where we're headed. If they've got to pay their debts in those pesos, it leads to hyperinflation. They just have to print tons and tons and tons and tons of money. And people are, no, I'm not taking that because your money's now worthless. Because Milei sucked up to Trump and Trump backed Milei. We're doing that. You're doing that. Your taxpayer money is doing that. And it's just insane because you know what Milei did with that money? They suspended. Now remember, they need all the revenue they can get, right? Part of their problem in this equation is taxes. They've now got to tax more and more and more to pay those bills. They suspended their export tax on a specific item. We gave them $20 billion. So they suspended their export tax because now they had a little breathing room with our $20 billion. They're paying their debts. Exchange rates are favorable to them. They've got a little breathing room. Marie Crabtree. I started to become stressed, so my husband told me to take a break from all the sites I listen to and to only listen to my Texas Paul for information. Thank you and my friends for helping me stay informed. I'm sorry I can't read today. I do apologize, Marie. I'm always glad to have you here. I'm always glad to have you here, Marie. Thank you very much. I love you people. Yup. Yeah. That's exactly what they did. Milei took that $20 billion lifeline. They cut export taxes on soybeans. They suspended their export taxes on soybeans. Now, China right now is paying a premium for soybeans. They are paying top dollar for soybeans. They are, because they're buying no American soybeans. And we're usually a huge chunk of their imports. But because of Donald Trump and his ridiculous trade war with China, China is not buying our soybeans. But they are buying Argentine soybeans like crazy, especially since they suspended their export tax, which they could do because Donald Trump gave them $20 billion. Yep. If you are an American farmer, Poopy Poppy, the guy you supported, the guy you wanted because of your bigotry, and you thought everyone else would get hurt, that brought you this mess. Not only did he destroy your markets, but he just paid the Argentinians while you're begging him for assistance. Instead of helping you, he gave $20 billion to Argentina so that the Argentina could drop their export taxes on their soybeans and not buy from you. You know, we told the people of Argentina before the election, we used our voice and told them, look, don't elect Milei. He's a clown. Austerity doesn't work. The promises he's making are shit. They're lies. They're useless. Don't elect this clown. You did. It failed. We told people before the last election, all the Gaza bots and all the other people, do not do this. Elect Democrats. Elect Democrats. They're the grown-ups in the room. They're the ones that make the hard decisions. They're the ones that do things. They're the ones that actually govern. They don't just sit there and bend the knee to guys like Paul Singer. But you didn't listen. You elected Trump. So, MAGA, now you're reaping it. Not only are you not getting help, because if they bail out the farmers, they have to admit they've destroyed the economy. And just put a little pin on something. There's a little thing called the Consumer Expenditure Survey that was supposed to be released weeks ago that they just decided not to release. Trump put his sycophant in charge. They fired the head of Bureau of Labor Statistics and he put a sycophant in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And they just haven't released that data. And it doesn't look like they're going to. The rest of the world released theirs, and guess what? Expenditures are contracting. Everything that we're talking about. The economy is contracting. But we're just not going to release that data. Folks, I got to tell you, this is just the way it works. This is just the way it works. The Broligarchs, they live off of taking from you everything they can, every way they can. It's their job. It's what they do. They don't build. They don't. You build. You build. They do things like buy influence. They do things like buy influence to protect them and protect their investments. Then they fund people like Christopher Rufo to go out and get people fighting over anything but paying attention to what the Broligarchs are doing. That's Elon Musk's whole shtick. Just to keep us from ever focusing on the important issues like the economy and your job and everything else. And I got to tell you, folks, what you do is amazing. This is Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina. It is widely considered one of the most beautiful places on earth. It is called the Paris of the West. And it's because of the people. It's because of the people. It's not because of the Broligarchs like Paul Singer, who like to claim that, oh, they build all this. Really, I didn't see you lay a brick or pave a road. It's all done on the backs of the people. It's all done on the backs of the people. And I've got news for you, folks. When it comes to actual events, they can buy all the influence they want. They can pay off all the politicians they want. They can even take advantage of your misery like J.D. Vance and his investment in Acre Trader, where these same soybean farmers that are going to go bankrupt. You've got J.D. Vance and his investment company is deeply invested into Acre Trader, which means they're going to buy up your distressed farm properties. And we've got to eat. I keep telling you, it's 1 to 1.2 billion pounds of food a day has to be grown, processed, packaged, delivered, and to your local store for us to eat. Old J.D. Vance is tying himself into the farmland. Why would J.D. Vance be interested in saving farmers when he's more interested in buying up their farmland? I mean, sincere question. So, yeah, I want to tie Portland together. I want to tie all of this together. Everything that you're seeing, Donald Trump is gone. His mind is pudding. His mind is pudding. He is gone. He is no longer he is no longer in control. He's just not. You've got all of these different people running off doing their own agendas. You've got the white supremacists like Stephen Miller and Tom Homan out there with their bigot agenda, keeping that part of their base together. There's a huge portion of the MAGA base that are just straight up and up bigots. Remember, they walked around telling you, I am Charlie Kirk. Yeah, you are. You are. Charlie Kirk was a bigot, and you are Charlie Kirk. That's why you're all up in your feels when one of your people shot him. That's why you're all up in your feels, because you saw somebody just like you have something terrible happen to him. Of course, you're all up in your feels about that. And then you've got the vultures, the Scott Bessents, the Howard Nutlicks. They're just like Paul Singer, man. They don't care. They don't care about, all they care about is what they can rip out of you. The Inquisitive Prince is a former Republican turned progressive. Listen to Texas Paul. Learn, learn, learn. You have to know how to learn to counter Republican Broligarchs and stay ahead of their plans. Stop the one-issue voting Dems, progressives, and independents. Amen, brother. Very well said. Very well said. Neuropilot, look up Greek Yanis Varoufakis. I'm going to say austerity sucks. It does. It only feeds the folks like Paul Singer. That's all it does. So, look, let's just cut the shit. You are the power. They don't build shit, you do. And they don't consume the shit that gets built. You do. All they do is just suck on like a leech and take from you. If you want to take control, you just cut off the blood supply. Skeet's there. The administration knows the truth, so it makes them smug, thinking the rest of us don't know. Yeah. Yeah. They think you're idiots. They think that they can take their bigoted ass base, throw them the red meat of attacking people that are of color, and that's all they'll focus on. That's all they'll focus on. Those hillbillies won't pay attention to the fact that they've got a big, gigantic leech attached to their neck, sucking blood straight from their carotid artery. Folks, don't be afraid. Don't panic. You are the power. 100%. They don't build shit and they don't buy shit. They don't. All of their wealth is pretend. It's stock. It's equities. You know what an equity is? It's a fucking piece of paper. It's nothing. It's nothing. You cut off their revenue streams, you close your wallet even briefly, and they collapse. Because they're so greedy, they live on the razor's edge of debt all the time. You've seen it before. They don't have income because income's taxable. No, they just keep rolling debt around. You cut off those revenue streams, and it all collapses. You are in control here. Don't be violent. There's no point. Why would you be violent? Give them an excuse to use violence against you? No. And people are like, they're not going to let us vote. I'm not asking. I'm going to vote. Do you know what would happen if your protest went to a port and you just shut a port down? Their pretend wealth, all of a sudden, they'd have to revisit, what is it really worth? It is just a piece of paper. You can't eat it. And the math won't math anymore if all of a sudden people stop buying, start, protesting at rail yards, start protesting at ports, start shutting down shipping. And yeah, you're not going to get everybody to go along with you. You're not. There are bigots and people. Let me tell you, white supremacy is the biggest participation trophy in history. It is. They live off the backs and the labor of people of color. They live off a set of rules that allows them to victimize people of color. And then they sit around and tell each other how great they are and what they built. It's bullshit. White supremacy is the biggest participation trophy in history. They're weak and they're stupid. And they cannot exist without victimizing other people. Then you have people that are like us, that are like, hey, everybody does better when everybody does better. Including the capitalists. This is the part that is just absolutely mind-numbingly, brutally difficult to understand. When we are in power, real wealth is built because the economies function like they're supposed to. You have a healthy customer base buying products. But these people are so greedy and so insane that they keep going to these extremists. Look at what Trump has done in 8 months with this stupid bamboozle. We're gonna take our tax burden, the Broligarchs' tax burden, and we're gonna put it on the common people through tariffs. It's just a sales tax, is all it is. Is they want to take their tax burden and put it on you. And now look, I want to sum this up, and I need you to pay very close attention here. Jody K, I heard someone say the other day, stop paying corporations for your oppression. Amen. Well said. Stop paying corporations for your own oppression. Leslie Peterson, I'm not afraid of you, Mr. Smelly Pants. Poopy Poppy. Yeah. Poopy Poppy's gone. He is. He's not your biggest concern. He really isn't. Father, I'm telling you, the Grim Reaper is going to deal with Poopy Poppy. Their cult leader is not long for this earth. Don't worry about that. Don't. Worry about this. And this is why I want to get you focused. And I want you to be uncomplacent. I want to get you from just somebody who's watching to somebody who's driving what's going on. The same thing that was happening in Argentina, the same thing that was happening in Puerto Rico is exactly what you're facing right now in the United States of America. We have, because of stupid Republican policy, amassed massive amounts of debts. What the corporate media is not telling you is that every economist with any kind of credibility whatsoever is saying, we've crossed the red line on debt. We are now headed down a road for disaster. We couldn't afford Trump because we're only about 10 years out, maybe a little less, from a Soviet-style economic collapse. What has to be done here in the United States, if we started before we elected Trump, was taxes for the wealthy and corporations had to be slowly, not radically, slowly increased so as to not shock the economic system. And government expenditures on things like defense spending, the things that we can control that don't hurt the average person. Because that defense expenditures, yes, it goes into corporate, it goes into profits, but it's also jobs and factories and whatnot. You cannot just rip it away like you're at a waxing salon. All of this has to be done intelligently and slowly so as to not create crisis. Then, if we have Democrats in charge, we have healthy economies that makes this whole process much less painful. But we didn't do that. We elected Trump. And Trump is massively increasing our national debt again. Massively increasing those tax cuts. Going along with the delusion, they didn't learn from Doge. Doge found nothing. These billionaires really believe that everything the government does, just waste. There's some unseen boogeyman in the system somewhere that's taking their money. They really believe that. Even when you have things like Doge coming in and saying, no, we didn't find shit. They still believe it. They have to believe it, because if they don't believe it, it all collapses for them. Then it just means that they're assholes that don't want to pay taxes. Skeets there, people should learn about Hershey Chocolate, Pennsylvania. That is an example of how to do it. There is example after example after example of how to do this if you put the grown-ups in charge. But we didn't. And it's going to cost us 4 years. And the Broligarchs like Paul Singer, they're going to pick the corpse. These vulture capitalists are going to pick the corpse, and they're going to make money. They are. But the big picture, the overall economy, where the really big whales live, we're talking about the Warren Buffetts of the world. Yeah, it's dying. And if you don't think it's dying, let me tell you about Warren Buffett's last bet. And when I say his last bet, he's retiring. This is the last move that Warren Buffett's making. He's dumping billions of dollars into D.R. Horton and Lennar, two home building companies. And now you're thinking, well, Paul, that must mean he thinks the economy's picking up. That means that the housing crisis must be moving in the right direction, right? If Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, is investing in home building corporations, it must mean it's going to be okay, right? No. You want to know why he's investing in Lennar and D.R. Horton? BTR. Build to rent. That's the new thing. And Lennar and D.R. Horton are leading the way. You know how we used to see these home buildings, that all of a sudden the trees would be gone, and then they would lay in infrastructure, and then poof, a suburb. And there'd usually be signs from 4 or 5 different builders. And you remember that? When they were selling houses? Yeah, no, they're not. They're not doing. The new thing is BTR, build to rent. And what that is a suburb that is built just like you see an apartment complex built. You know how in an apartment complex, like they'll build a pool and a common area and a bunch of sidewalks to make a little community for the apartment complex. Yeah, they're built now. Their new thing, because they know nobody's going to be able to afford to buy a fucking house. They're building entire communities to sell to the Broligarchs. They don't sell them to you or me or anybody else. No. They sell them to BlackRock. Yeah. Remember how we said the housing crisis wasn't caused by anything other than the Broligarchs buying up houses? If it was empty, they would make it an Airbnb. And how that's kind of all the wheels are coming off of it. No, they're not expecting this economy to recover. They're not expecting it to get any better. And they're not going to work towards getting anything any better at all. These next generations are not going to have the life that we had. You know how we went out, we got married, we bought a house, we had a family. That dream is over. It's over. And Warren Buffett sees it. He sees it. So he's investing in it. He's investing in BTR communities to the tune of almost $2 billion. Yeah, folks, we don't have time for this. We don't. We don't have time for this. In about 10 years, the math don't math anymore. If we don't change things now, I'm talking yesterday, we couldn't afford to put Trump in charge again. We're going to lose 4 years. Do you know how much more drastic that is going to make things for when we finally do the right thing and put Democrats back in charge and they start to address this nightmare? I mean, who do you want? The people that are telling you the answer is to take grandma's Medicare and Medicaid away and shut down the old folks' homes, shut down the rural hospitals, don't invest in infrastructure. Those nuts in the Republican Party that are all part of the Epstein list and all the sickness that involves the Republican Party? Or do you want Democrats to say, look, we need to build streets, highways, we need to invest, we need to do things wisely because the whole goal is how well the American people are doing, how well the global economy is doing. Now imagine how much more stressful all of this is going to be because of this 4 years that we're about to lose. Neuropilot, pay tax for billionaires is the most patriotic thing, but they don't see it that way. They don't. In their mind, there is some mythical thing out there that is wasting their money, and it's just wasted money. That's all it is. They don't get any return on that money that they can possibly see. They don't understand that if you do better, they do better. They can't put that together in their brains. They're not smart people. They're not big picture people. They would rather do what Paul Singer does, which is to develop the Manhattan Institute, which is tied with the Budapest Institute, which is, all over the world. They have this network of institutes pushing austerity, pushing this right-wing nonsense, this stupid frickin' trickle-down idiotic thing. And the way they push it is they take members of the Supreme Court and politicians, they pay for those private club memberships and they bribe off people, literally just bribe them off. There's no other way to look at it than just bribe them off to allow them to do whatever the hell they want to do economically. So they have these institutes push social wars like CRT and DEI and telling white people that you're victimized, man. You're victimized. because they want to have DEI. That means they don't want you to have your job. They want to take your job away, and they want to put your children on the streets. And they want to eat your dogs and cats. And transgender Antifa people want to burn your cities. Yeah, it's the same people. It's the same people. And there aren't that many of them. There's only a handful of them. Veggie Al, I would look at a house for sale and 2 to 3 days later, they are pending. Not anymore. That housing market is crumbling. It really is. So BDR equals Pottersfield. It is literally, they're going to own everything. They've got so much liquid capital. They're just going to own everything. And they're going to take your social safety nets away. All the things that make things decent. They do not have the vision. They just don't. They don't understand that if you do better, that if I do better, that if we all do better, everything is better for everyone. It's not how they think, folks. It's not. And the only entity that is able to fight them with any degree of success is the government. We have to take control of the government. Skeet Sayer, they forgot that some of us are the G.I. Joe generation and only see Cobra as the Trump administration. Yeah. So I hope this has been clear to you and didn't get too convoluted. I hope you understand the examples of Puerto Rico, the examples of Argentina, the examples of the Soviet Union, the examples over and over, Jackson, Mississippi, over and over and over and over again. There are cities all over this country that have seen this exact same song sung over and over again. And the greedy every time move in to pick the last meat off the bones instead of helping them get back on their feet. And here's the thing. JCSD says, will the farmers finally wake up? They will not. They will not. Because we will bail them out again because we need food. We need 1 to 1.2 billion pounds of food every single day in just this country. So we will get them back on their feet. And as soon as they're back on their feet, all they will care about is DEI and bigotry. And the stuff that they used to say quietly, which is, you're white and you're the reason this country's great. And all they want to do is turn your country over to those people of color by giving them your jobs and your farms. Oh, look at this. They've got a program to help farmers that are people of color. Look at that. That's them trying to take your farm away. Where's your help? And the idiot farmer forgets the bailouts, forgets the loans, forgets all the programs that are designed to keep him in business. And all he thinks about is the bigotry. And he walks into the voting booth and he votes Republican. Because people just aren't that smart. People aren't you. Richard Swain, I'm just glad RFK is keeping us safe from Tylenol, invented in 1950, first case of autism, 1911. Yeah. The Tylenol thing, another perfect example. Just to keep the stupid stupid. So are you getting it, folks? Because the whole point of the show was this point right here. Are you getting that you are a special class? That you have a responsibility because you can actually see the big picture and see what is going on. You have the responsibility to look at the stupids and figure out a way to break this cycle of the farmers getting, having a healthy economy with healthy crops. Then they elect Republicans based on their bigotry. And the shit that they're selling about they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats and the immigrants, the ones, the ones that work on your fucking farm are coming to take over the country. That's all the Democrats care about. So they go and they vote Republican and the economy goes to shit and their farms go to shit. And all those immigrants they wanted to deport, they can't find workers anymore. Then they start trade wars, which is really just an attempt to shift more of their tax burden down on the common people. It's a global cabal by the Broligarchs, by the way. These tariffs, everybody wants to say, oh, it's Donald Trump. It's not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the tool. He's the mindless pudding brain tool. The people behind it, the ones that are driving Nutlick and Navarro, the billionaire Broligarchs, this is really a global cabal among a handful of people that have tons of paper wealth to say, I don't want to pay taxes. Tariffs, that means taxes going both ways. That's why the tariffs are always bilateral. It's happening in your country. Europe, you think that we're tariffing you, so you tariff us back. And really all it is your billionaires, you're now paying more taxes, so they'll pay less. Our billionaires are now paying less taxes. We're paying more, so they'll pay less. That's all it is. That's all the tariffs is a cabal by the billionaires to take tax burden from them to put it on you. And they know you boil that frog slow, they'll get used to it, and that'll be the new normal going forward. Instead of what used to be like us, I use this as an example all the time, us versus the UK, we had a 1.2% tariff on goods coming in from the UK. The UK had a 1.4% tariff. Instead of a negotiation to bring these two very close things on parity, they did tariffs, and now we're all paying 15%. We're all paying 15%. Oh, yeah, there's parity there. But we're all paying 15% now. That's money out of your pocket that the Broligarchs no longer have to pay. So here's the farmers. Shit has collapsed. We're going to bail them out again. And as soon as the bailouts take place, here we are in the beginning again, they're going to be comfortable and they're going to vote for their bigotry. They're going to vote for whatever it is. Whatever person. It will, it won't be the transgender person people 10 years down the road. It'll be something else. It'll be something else. It'll be the fucking furries or something else. Someone that the people like Paul Singer will pay their stooges in the institutes to go out and drum up all over social media to be the new bad guy to get the bigots to vote the way they want them to vote. It's your job to break that cycle. And it's complex thinking. It's complex thinking. They can't do it. Dunning-Kruger is real. They can't do it. You have to. And the only way you can do it is to be involved. If we don't do it, if I don't sit here and do this, I want to be fishing so fucking bad. My boat needs to be washed and waxed. Y'all want to come wash and wax my boat? It's a mess. I want to be fishing. I don't want to be doing this. But I am because I have to. I have to. And you have to too. By the simple fact that you can understand these complex subjects and you are head and shoulders above the stupids is why you have to. You have to be involved in social security. Stupid little things that I keep telling you, like hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. I know it seems like, oh, well, that's self-serving shit. No, it's not, man. We are growing this audience. We're bringing this community, and more people are hearing this. And they're like, oh, shit, that makes sense. And it won't happen overnight, but damn, we are up against the wall. Folks, in 10 years, actually, it's more like 8 or 9, the math no longer maths anymore. And shit has to get radical. We have got to get involved. We have got to get involved. We have to get the messaging out there. I'm looking at making some pins. You know how I sell the cups to sports show? I'm going to go get some pins made. That is basically, it's just going to be a blue heart with a skull on it that people can wear. We're going to send them to Democratic politicians about being a ride or die Democrat. And everybody can identify themselves without putting the word Democrat on it, or, you can just identify yourselves as somebody that gives a shit about our democracy, that gives a shit about our economy, and that we all do better when we all do better. We've got to get loud. They've been very loud for a very long time. We have to get loud. And they're trying to intimidate you to prevent you from doing that. This whole Charlie Kirk thing was meant to make you shut up. It was. It was to make you shut up. I'm not going to do it. Charlie Kirk was an asshole. I preach no violence all the time. I think it sucks what happened to the guy. I would rather have him out there today spewing stupid shit that I can show you and wake more people up with than have him be dead. But folks, we've got to do it. We've got to do the talking. We've got to get involved. There's no one else to do it. Mandolius, look up Project Esther. Thank you, Mandolius, for always being here. Gail Brownell, can stores still hang a sign, right to refuse service to anyone? They got to refuse to feed the troops. I agree that we should resist. I do. As long as it's nonviolent. Well, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you're motivated. I hope you understand. Even the little things, man. Just the little things. They make a difference. They make a difference. Folks like Jolly Good Ginger out there, as a vet, has put a call out to all vets to join his Substack at 5 p.m. Sunday to start organizing. Yeah. There are people out there all over the place. And I'm not one of these people. Look, when you get to where we are here, you're going to get people on the left that are like, pay attention to me, and they're going to be attacking me. They are. It happened just the other day. Very popular creator. Some of y'all sent me emails about it. Were attacking me. That's going to happen. Selfish people that want attention. I will never do that. I'll tell you, go listen to Jolly Good Ginger. I'll tell you, go listen to Midas Touch. I will tell you, because we need to live by the 11th commandment. Don't speak ill of each other. Keep people motivated. As long as people are on the same message of turn the fuck out and vote, we're on the same team. We're on the same team. And that's all I care about. Be Ariel Owen. Proud to be a member here. Thank you for what you do. I am very active in Texas Panhandle. Democrats, I am fighting. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. Christopher K. Hello, Truth Teller. Hello. We got to get these young people. And this whole BTR investment, build to rent investment by Warren Buffett, that's the kind of thing that you can talk to young people. They have no intention of ever fixing things so that you can have your piece of the American dream. They're declaring the American dream dead, and screw you. We're going to be your liege lords from now on. We're going to be your landlords. You're not going to own your own house. You're not going to build your own wealth. We're going to take from you from the moment you enter the economy to the moment you die. You want to talk to young people? Talk to them about that. Folks, they're going to do some crazy shit. We've been talking about it. We're about to have, and by the way, war fighters is not an acceptable word for the drinking game when Pete Kegbreath gives his speech to the military next week. Warfighter is not acceptable. People will die. Don't do that. This change in our military and the changes that they're making, this new crazy legislation, all of this, if they pass it all, you will wake up the next day, you will walk outside, the sun will still be shining, your children will still have schools to go to, you will still have a job. There are no disasters to panic over. There's just work to be done. There's just work to be done. No panics, no violence. Let's just get it done, folks. On that, enjoy some Texas cities at night.